Chapter 37. The Interplanetary Chess Congress. A tall, skinny old man in gold-rimmed glasses and short, very dirty boots covered in gluey paint wandered around Vasuki that morning. He was sticking handwritten posters to the walls. June 22, 1927. At the Cardboard Worker Club. Lecture on the fruitful opening idea and simultaneous chess game on 160 boards by Grandmaster Senior Master O. Bender. Everyone brings their own board. Game fee 50 kopecks, entrance fee 20 kopecks. Starts promptly at 6 p.m. Administrator K. Michelson. Grandmaster himself wasn't wasting any time either. After renting the club for 3 rubles, he popped into the chess section, which for some reason was located in the hallway of the horse breeding administration. In the chess section, a one-eyed man was sitting and reading a novel by Spielhagen. Grandmaster O. Bender, Ostap announced, sitting down on the table. I'm organizing a simultaneous game here. The one eye of the Vasuki chess player widened as much as nature allowed. Right away, Comrade Grandmaster, the one-eyed man shouted. Please sit down, I'll be right back. And the one-eyed man ran off. Ostap looked around the chess section. There were photos of racehorses on the walls, and on the table lay a dusty office ledger with the title, Achievements of the Vasuki Chess Section for 1925. One-eyed man returned with a dozen citizens of various ages. They all took turns introducing themselves, stating their names, and respectfully shaking the Grandmaster's hand. Passing through to Kazan, Ostap said curtly, Yes, the game is tonight, come along. But now, excuse me, I'm not in form, tired after the Carlsbad tournament. Vasuki chess players listened to Ostap with filial love. Ostap was on a roll. He felt a surge of new energy in chess ideas. You won't believe, he said, how far chess thought has advanced. You know, Lasker has gotten into some vulgar stuff. It's impossible to play with him anymore. He smokes his opponents out with cigars, and he deliberately smokes cheap ones so the smoke is more disgusting. The chess world is in turmoil. The Grandmaster moved on to local topics. Why is there no intellectual game in the provinces? Take your chess section, for example. That's what it's called, a chess section. Boring folks, why don't you give it a beautiful, truly chess-like name? That would attract the allied masses to the section. You could call your section the Chess Club of 4 Knights, or the Red Endgame, or Loss of Quality with a Gain of Tempo. That would be great, catchy. The idea was a hit. You know what, the Vasuki resident said, why don't we rename our section the 4 Knights Club? Since the chess section's office was right there, Ostap organized a quick meeting under his honorary chairmanship, at which the section was unanimously renamed the 4 Knights Chess Club. The Grandmaster himself, using lessons from Scriabin, artistically created a sign on a piece of cardboard with 4 knights and the corresponding inscription. This important event promised a flourishing of chess thought in Vasuki. Chess, Ostap said, do you know what chess is? It moves forward not only culture but also the economy. Do you know that the 4 Knights Chess Club, if properly organized, can completely transform the city of Vasuki? Ostap hadn't eaten anything since yesterday, therefore his eloquence was extraordinary. Yes, he shouted, chess enriches the country. If you agree to my project, you'll descend from the city to the pier on marble staircases. Vasuki will become the center of 10 provinces. What have you heard about the town of Semmering before? Nothing. And now this little town is rich and famous only because an international tournament was organized there. Therefore, I say, an international chess tournament must be organized in Vasuki. How? Everyone shouted. Perfectly realistic thing, the Grandmaster replied. My personal connections and your initiative. That's all that's necessary and sufficient to organize an international Vasuki tournament. Think about how beautiful it will sound. The International Vasuki Tournament of 1927. The arrival of Jose Raul Capablanca, Emanuel Lasker, Alekhine, Nimzwich, Rady, Rubinstein, Maroczy, Teresh, Vidmer, and Dr. Grigoriev is guaranteed. Besides, my participation is also guaranteed. But the money, the Vasuki residents groaned. They all need to be paid money, many thousands of dollars. Where will we get it? Everything is accounted for by a mighty hurricane, O. Bender said. The money will come from the fees. Who here is going to pay that kind of crazy money? The Vasuki residents. Vasuki residents. The Vasuki residents won't pay money. They will receive it. It's all extremely simple. After all, chess lovers from all over the world will come to the tournament with the participation of such great world masters. Hundreds of thousands of people, wealthy people, will flock to Vasuki. First of all, the river transport won't be able to handle such a number of people. Therefore, the People's Commissariat of Railways will build a Moscow-Vasuki railway line. That's 1. 2 hotels and skyscrapers to accommodate guests. 3. The raising of agriculture within a radius of 1,000 kilometers. Guests need to be supplied vegetables, fruits, caviar, chocolate, candies. The palace where the tournament will take place. 4. 5. The construction of garages for guest vehicles. To transmit the sensational results of the tournament to the whole world, a super-powerful radio station will have to be built. That's 6. Now, regarding the Moscow-Vasuki railway line. Undoubtedly, it won't have the capacity to transport everyone who wants to come to Vasuki. hence the Greater Vasuki Airport, regular departures of postal planes and airships to all corners of the world, including Los Angeles and Melbourne. Dazzling prospects unfolded before the Vasuki enthusiasts. The limits of the room expanded. The rotten walls of the horse-breeding nest collapsed, and in their place, a glass 33-story palace of chess thought rose into the blue sky. In each of its halls in each room, and even in the bullet-like elevators, thoughtful people sat and played chess on malachite-encrusted boards. Marble staircases really did descend into the blue Volga. Ocean liners stood on the river. Funiculars carried to the city big-bellied foreigners, chess ladies, Australian fans of the Indian defense, Indians in white turbans, adherents of the Spanish game, Germans, French, New Zealanders, residents of the Amazon River Basin, and envying the Vasuki residents, Muscovites, Leningraders, Khivans, Siberians, and residents of Odessa. Cars moved in a conveyor belt among the marble hotels. Then everything stopped. World champion Jose Raul Capablanca y Gropera came out of the fashionable pawn promotion hotel. He was surrounded by ladies, a policeman dressed in a special chess uniform, riding breeches in a checkerboard pattern, and elephants on the buttonholes, politely saluted. The one-eyed chairman of the Vasuki Four Knights Club approached the champion with dignity. Conversation between the two luminaries, conducted in English, was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Grigoriev and the future world champion Alekhine. Welcoming shouts shook the city. Jose Raul Capablanca y Gropera winced. At the wave of the one-eyed man's hand, a marble staircase was brought to the airplane. Dr. Grigoriev ran down it, waving his new hat in greeting and commenting on the possible mistake of Capablanca in the upcoming match with Alekhine. Suddenly, a black dot was spotted on the horizon. It quickly approached and grew, turning into a large emerald parachute. Like a large radish, a man with a suitcase hung on the parachute ring. "It's him," the one-eyed man shouted. "Hooray, hooray, hooray. I recognize the great chess philosopher, Old Man Lasker. He's the only one in the world who wears such green socks." Jose Raul Capablanca y Gropera winced again. A marble staircase was quickly placed under Lasker, and the cheerful ex-champion, blowing a speck of dust off his left sleeve that had landed on him during the flight over Silesia, fell into the arms of the one-eyed man. The one-eyed man took Lasker by the waist, led him to the champion, and said, "Make peace. I ask you to do this on behalf of the broad Vasuki masses. Make peace." Jose Raul sighed loudly, and shaking the hand of the old veteran, said, "I have always admired your idea of transferring the bishop in the Spanish game from b5 to c4. "Hooray!" exclaimed the one-eyed man, simple and convincing in the style of the champion. And the entire vast crowd picked up. "Hooray, vivat, banzai," simple and convincing in the style of the champion. Enthusiasm reached its peak, seeing Maestro Duzkotamirsky and Maestro Parakatov floating over the city in an egg-shaped orange airship. The one-eyed man waved his hand. 2.5 million people, in one inspired impulse, sang, "Wonderful is the chess law and immutable. He who has gained an advantage, even a negligible one, in space, mass, time, force of strength, only for him is a direct path to victory possible." Express trains pulled up to the 12 Vasuki stations, disembarking more and more crowds of chess lovers. A messenger ran up to the one-eyed man. "Confusion at the superpowerful radio station. Your help is needed." At the radio station, engineers greeted the one-eyed man with shouts. "Distress signals, distress signals." The one-eyed man put on radio headphones and listened. "Wow, wow, wow," desperate cries were carried on the air. "SOS, SOS, SOS, save our souls." "Who are you, begging for salvation?" the one-eyed man sternly shouted into the air. "I'm a young Mexican," the airwaves reported. "Save my soul." "What do you have to do with the Four Knights Chess Club?" "Humble request." "What's the matter?" "I'm the young Mexican Tora. I just got out of the insane asylum. Let me into the tournament. Let me in." "Oh, I'm so busy," the one-eyed man replied. "SOS, SOS, SOS," the airwaves shrieked. "Okay, just fly in already." "I don't have mo one," came from the shores of the Gulf of Mexico. "Oh, these young chess players," the one-eyed man sighed. "Send a motorized railcar after him. Let him come." Sky was already ablaze with glowing advertisements when a white horse was led through the streets of the city. This was the only horse that had survived after the mechanization of Vasuki transport. By special decree, it was renamed a knight, although it had been considered a mare all its life. Chess enthusiasts greeted her, waving palm branches and chessboards. "Don't worry," Ostap said. "My project guarantees your city an unprecedented flourishing of productive forces. Think about what will happen when the tournament ends and when all the guests leave. Residents of Moscow, constrained by the housing crisis, will rush to your magnificent city. The capital automatically moves to Vasuki. The government moves here. Vasuki is renamed New Moscow, and Moscow Old Vasuki." The residents of Leningrad and Kharkov gnash their teeth, but they can't do anything about it. New Moscow becomes the most elegant center of Europe, and soon the whole world. "The whole world," the stunned Vasuki residents groaned. and subsequently the entire universe. Chess thought, which has turned a provincial town into the capital of the globe, will turn into an applied science and invent ways of interplanetary communication. Signals will fly from Vasuki to Mars, Jupiter, and Neptune. Communication with Venus will become as easy as a trip from Rybinsk to Yaroslavl. And there, who knows, maybe in 8 years, the first interplanetary chess tournament in the history of the universe will take place in Vasuki. Ostap wiped his noble brow. He was so hungry that he would have gladly eaten a roasted chess knight. Yeah, the one-eyed man squeezed out, surveying the dusty room with a crazy gaze. But how do we practically implement the event, lay the foundation, so to speak? Those present looked intently at the Grandmaster. I repeat that practically, the matter depends only on your initiative. I take on the entire organization, I repeat. There are no material costs except for the cost of telegrams. The one-eyed man nudged his comrades. Well, he asked, what do you say? Let's do it, the Vasuki residents shouted. How much money is needed for these telegrams? A ridiculous figure, Ostap said, 100 rubles. We only have 21 rubles and 16 kopecks in the treasury. This, of course, we understand, is far from enough. But the Grandmaster turned out to be a compliant organizer. Okay, he said, give me your 20 rubles. Will that be enough? The one-eyed man asked. It will be enough for the initial telegrams, and then a flow of donations will begin, and there will be nowhere to put the money. After stashing the money in his green travel jacket, the Grandmaster reminded those gathered about his lecture and simultaneous game on 160 boards, said a friendly goodbye until the evening, and went to the Cardboard Worker Club for a meeting with Ippolit Matveyevich. I'm starving, Vorobyaninov said in a cracking voice. He was already sitting behind the ticket window, but he hadn't collected a single kopeck yet and couldn't even buy a pound of bread. In front of him lay a wire-green basket intended for collection. In middle-class houses, knives and forks are placed in such baskets. Listen, Vorobyaninov, Ostap shouted. Stop the ticket operations for an hour and a half. Let's go have lunch at Narpit. I'll outline the situation along the way. By the way, you need to shave and clean up. You look like a bum. A Grandmaster can't have such suspicious acquaintances. I haven't sold a single ticket, Ippolit Matveyevich reported. No problem, they'll come running by evening. The city has already donated 20 rubles to me for the organization of an international chess tournament. So why do we need a simultaneous game? The administrator whispered. They might beat you, and with 20 rubles we can immediately get on a steamboat. The Karl Liebknecht just came from above and calmly go to Stalingrad and wait there for the theater to arrive. Maybe we'll manage to open the chairs in Stalingrad. Then we'll be rich and everything will belong to us. You can't say such stupid things on an empty stomach. It negatively affects the brain. We might get to Stalingrad for 20 rubles, but what money will we eat on? Vitamins, dear comrade leader, are not given to anyone for free, but from the expansive Vasuki residents, we can rip off about 30 rubles for the lecture and game. They'll beat you, Vorobyaninov said bitterly. Of course there's a risk, they might beat you up. However, I have an idea that will protect you in any case, but more on that later. For now, let's go taste the local dishes. By 6 o'clock in the evening, the well-fed, shaved, and cologne-smelling Grandmaster entered the ticket office of the Cardboard Worker Club. The well-fed and shaved Vorobyaninov briskly sold tickets. Well, how's it going? The Grandmaster asked quietly. 30 for entrance and 20 for the game, the administrator replied. 16 rubles, week. What are you talking about? Bender, look at the line. They're bound to beat you. Don't think about that. When they start beating you, you'll cry. But for now, don't delay. Learn to trade. An hour later, there were 35 rubles in the ticket office. The audience was agitated in the hall. Close the window, give me the money, Ostap said. Now here's what. Here's 5 rubles for you. Go to the pier, hire a boat for a couple of hours and wait for me on the shore below the barn. We'll take an evening stroll with you. Don't worry about me. I'm informed today. Grandmaster entered the hall. He felt cheerful and knew firmly that the first move e2, e4 didn't threaten him with any complications. The remaining moves, however, were already drawn in a complete fog, but this didn't bother the great combinator at all. He had prepared a completely unexpected way out to save even the most hopeless game. Grandmaster was greeted with applause. The small club hall was hung with colorful paper flags. A week ago, there had been an evening of the Society for Saving People on the Water, as evidenced by the slogan on the wall. The business of helping drowning people is the business of the drowning people themselves. Ostap bowed, stretched out his hands as if rejecting the undeserved applause, and ascended the stage. Comrades, he said in a beautiful voice. Comrades and brothers in chess, the subject of my lecture today is what I read, and I must admit, not without success, in Nizhny Novgorod a week ago. The subject of my lecture is the fruitful opening idea. What is, comrades, an opening, and what is, comrades, an idea? An opening, comrades, is quasi-unifantasia. And what does idea mean, comrades? Idea, comrades, is a human thought clothed in a logical chess form. Even with negligible forces, you can take possession of the entire board. It all depends on each individual separately. For example, that little blonde guy in the third row. Let's say he plays well. The blonde guy in the third row blushed. And that brunette, let's say, is worse. Everyone turned and looked at the brunette as well. So what do we see, comrades? We see that the blonde plays well and the brunette plays badly. And no lectures will change this balance of power if each individual does not constantly train in checkers. That is, I wanted to say, in chess. And now, comrades, I will tell you a few instructive stories from the practice of our respected hypermodernists Capablanca, Lasker, and Dr. Grigoriev. Ostap told the audience several Old Testament anecdotes, gleaned in childhood from the Blue Journal, and ended the interlude with this. Everyone was slightly surprised by the brevity of the lecture, and the one-eyed man didn't take his only eye off the Grandmaster's shoes. However, the simultaneous game that began delayed the growing suspicion of the one-eyed chess player. Together with everyone, he was arranging the tables in a U-shape. In total, 30 amateurs sat down to play against the Grandmaster. Many of them were completely confused and looked at chess textbooks every minute, refreshing in their memory the complex variations with which they hoped to surrender to the Grandmaster after at least the 22nd move. Ostap glanced over the ranks of blacks that surrounded him from all sides at the closed door and fearlessly set to work. He approached the one-eyed man sitting at the first board and moved the king's pawn from square e2 to square e4. The one-eyed man immediately grabbed his ears with his hands and began to think intently. A rustle went through the ranks of the amateurs. The Grandmaster played e2, e4. Ostap didn't spoil his opponents with a variety of openings. On the remaining 29 boards, he did the same operation. He dragged the king's pawn from e2 to e4. One after another, the amateurs grabbed their hair and plunged into feverish reasoning. The non-players turned their eyes to the Grandmaster. The only amateur photographer in the city had already climbed onto a chair and was about to light the magnesium, but Ostap angrily waved his hands and, interrupting his course along the boards, shouted loudly, "Remove the photographer, he's interfering with my chess thought. Why leave my photo in this miserable little town? I don't like dealing with the police," he decided to himself. The indignant hissing of the amateurs forced the photographer to abandon his attempt. The outrage was so great that the photographer was even kicked out of the room. In the third move, it turned out that the Grandmaster was playing 18 Spanish games. In the remaining 12, the blacks used the Philidor defense, although outdated but quite reliable. If Ostap had known that he was playing such intricate games and encountering such a tried and tested defense, he would have been extremely surprised. The fact is that the great combinator was playing chess for the second time in his life. First, the amateurs and the one-eyed man first among them were horrified. The Grandmaster's treachery was undeniable. With extraordinary ease and undoubtedly, gloating in his soul over the backward amateurs of the city of Vasuki, the Grandmaster sacrificed pawns, heavy and light pieces right and left. He even sacrificed a queen to the brunette who had been reviled in the lecture. The brunette was horrified and wanted to surrender immediately, but only with a terrible effort of will did he force himself to continue the game. A thunderclap rang out in the clear sky 5 minutes later. "Checkmate," the terrified brunette stammered. "Checkmate to you, comrade Grandmaster." Ostap analyzed the position, shamefully called the queen a lady, and pompously congratulated the brunette on his victory. A murmur ran through the ranks of the amateurs. "Time to get out of here," Ostap thought, calmly walking among the tables and casually rearranging the pieces. "You put the knight in the wrong place, comrade Grandmaster," the one-eyed man fawned. "The knight doesn't move like that." Pardon, excuse me," the Grandmaster replied. "I'm a little tired after the lecture." Over the next 10 minutes, the Grandmaster lost 10 more games. Surprise shouts rang out in the Cardboard Worker Club. A conflict was brewing. Ostap lost 15 games in a row and soon 3 more. Only the one-eyed man remained. At the beginning of the game, he had made many mistakes out of fear and was now struggling to lead the game to a victorious end. Ostap, unnoticed by those around him, stole a black rook from the board and hid it in his pocket. The crowd closed tightly around the players. "My rook was just standing in this place," the one-eyed man shouted, looking around, "and now it's gone." "If it's not there, it wasn't there," Ostap said rudely. "How wasn't it there? I remember clearly." "Of course it wasn't there." "Where did it go? Did you win it?" "I won it." "When? On what moves?" "What are you bothering me with your rook? If you surrender, then say so." "Excuse me, comrade, I have all the moves recorded." "The office writes," Ostap said. "This is outrageous," the one-eyed man yelled. "Give me back my rook." "Surrender, surrender. What kind of cat-and-mouse game is this?" "Give me back the rook." "Give you the rook. Maybe I should also give you the key to the apartment where the money is." With these words, the Grandmaster, realizing that delay was like death, scooped up a handful of pieces and threw them at the head of his one-eyed opponent. "Comrades," the one-eyed man shrieked, "look everyone, they're beating an amateur." The chess players of the city of Vasuki were taken aback. Without wasting precious time, Ostap threw the chessboard at the kerosene lamp and, hitting someone's jaws and foreheads in the ensuing darkness, ran out into the street. The Vasuki amateurs, falling on top of each other, rushed after him. It was a moonlit evening. Ostap raced along the silver street lightly, like an angel, pushing off from the sinful earth. In view of the failed transformation of Vasuki into the center of the universe, he had to run not among palaces, but among log houses with external shutters. Chess enthusiasts were rushing behind him. "Hold the Grandmaster," the one-eyed man roared. "Crook," the others supported. "Dandies," the Grandmaster snapped back, increasing his speed. "Help," the aggrieved chess players shouted. Ostap jumped up the stairs leading to the pier. He had to run 400 steps. On the sixth landing, two amateurs were already waiting for him, having made their way here along a roundabout path directly along the slope. Ostap looked back. A tight group of angry fans of the Philidor defense was rolling down from above like a pack of dogs. There was no retreat. Therefore, Ostap ran forward. "I'll get you now, you bastards," he barked at the brave scouts, jumping from the fifth landing. The frightened scouts groaned, tumbling over the railing, and rolled somewhere into the darkness of the hills and slopes. The path was clear. "Hold the Grandmaster," rolled from above. The pursuers ran, banging on the wooden staircase like falling bowling balls. Running out onto the shore, Ostap swerved to the right, looking for the boat with his faithful administrator. Ippolit Matveyevich was sitting idyllically in the boat. Ostap plopped down on the bench and furiously began to row away from the shore. A minute later, stones flew into the boat. One of them hit Ippolit Matveyevich. A dark bump grew a little higher than his volcanic pimple. Ippolit Matveyevich tucked his head into his shoulders and whimpered. "So what hat? They almost tore my head off. And I'm fine, cheerful and happy. And if you take into account another 50 rubles of net profit, then the fee for one bump on your head is quite decent." Meanwhile, the pursuers, who had only now realized that the plan to turn Vasuki into New Moscow had collapsed, and that the Grandmaster was taking 50 of Vasuki's hard-earned rubles out of the city, got into a large boat and rowed into the middle of the river with shouts. About 30 people crammed into the boat. Everyone wanted to take personal part in the reprisal against the Grandmaster. The one-eyed man commanded the expedition. His only eye sparkled in the night like a lighthouse. "Hold the Grandmaster," they shouted in the overloaded barge. "Go Kisa," Ostap said. "If they catch us, I can't vouch for the safety of your glasses." Both boats went downstream. The distance between them was decreasing. Ostap was exhausted. "You won't get away, you bastards," they shouted from the barge. Ostap didn't answer. There was no time. The oars tore out of the water. Water flew out from under the raging oars in streams and got into the boat. "Come on," Ostap whispered to himself. Ippolit Matveyevich was suffering. The barge was triumphant. Its high hull was already passing the concessionaire's boat on the left to press the Grandmaster to the shore. A sad fate awaited the concessionaires. The joy on the barge was so great that all the chess players moved to the right side in order to, having drawn level with the boat, attack the villainous Grandmaster with superior forces. "Protect your glasses, Kisa," Ostap shouted in despair, throwing down the oars. "It's about to begin." "Gentlemen," Ippolit Matveyevich suddenly exclaimed in a rooster voice, "are you really going to beat us?" "You bet," the Vasuki amateurs thundered, preparing to jump into the boat. But at this time, an extremely offensive incident occurred for the honest chess players of the whole world. The barge tilted and scooped up water with its right side. "Be careful," the one-eyed captain squeaked. But it was already too late. Too many amateurs had accumulated on the right side of the Vasuki dreadnought. Changing the center of gravity, the barge did not hesitate, and in full accordance with the laws of physics, overturned. A general cry disturbed the peace of the river. "Wow," the chess players groaned at length. Full 30 amateurs found themselves in the water. They quickly surfaced and clung to the overturned barge one after another. The one-eyed man was the last to moor. "Dandies," Ostap shouted in delight. "Why aren't you beating your Grandmaster? You, if I'm not mistaken, wanted to beat me." Ostap described a circle around the shipwrecked. "You understand, Vasuki individuals, that I could drown you one by one, but I give you life. Live citizens. Only for God's sake, don't play chess, you just don't know how to play. Oh, you dandies. Let's go Ippolit Matveyevich further. Goodbye, one-eyed amateurs. I'm afraid that Vasuki will not become the center of the universe. I don't think that chess masters would come to such fools as you, even if I asked them to. Goodbye, lovers of strong chess sensations. Long live the Four Horses Club."